What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson coming to you with a midday stream. We got to catch up with one of our rivals, one of the guys I know knows the Cowboys as good as they come. My guy, DMV Fanatic. How you doing today, big dog?
Hey, bro, I feel phenomenal. Got a workout in. Dan, all this Dan Quinn news going on in these streets, bro. But hey, I'm feeling phenomenal. Thanks for asking.
Hey. And congrats on hitting 11K. You hit 11K on YouTube today. The business is booming on these YouTube streets in the off season, right?
Absolutely, dog. I look. If somebody would have told me that misery was just gonna make these numbers go like this, like, bro, I would have started this a long time ago.
I could have told you that a minute ago, man, because that's all we do, man. I started content creation 3 years ago. I ain't got to talk about a playoff game yet, but let's get to it, man. Our new head coach is somebody you know very well. He's been your defensive coordinator for the last 3 years. We know you're our defensive coordinator. You know him well as well. But let's start with Dan Quinn. What was the temperature? What was the Dallas defense when he got there, and what did it end up being? Let's walk me through Dan Quinn's tenure as y'all defensive coordinator.
Okay, so historically, we were a bad defense before Dan Quinn got there. Mike Nolan took over,
Hmm.
and it was really really bad. You know what I'm saying? Dan Quinn came in and gave it a facelift immediately, and he, for the most part, over the course of the last 3 years, consistently has had our defense in, I would say around the top 10 range. Lots of turnovers, lots of sacks. Um, we haven't stopped the run as well over the course of that time, but for the most part, I would just say his service in Dallas was a good one.
So, like, what exactly, like, because was it the players that were selected? Was it his scheme? I know he ran a lot of cover three at his time with Dallas, but it looks like each stop he's been at, he's tweaked his methods in his schematics. What exactly was the scheme in Dallas?
Actually, we did a lot more man in Dallas. See, it's
Hmm.
actually in Seattle was more cover three. In Dallas, we
Hmm.
did a lot more man because of the personnel that Dallas had. Is that which actually strikes me as a little bit weird as to why in the Green Bay game we went back to cover three, but that's beside the point. Because I'm talking about his tenure as a whole Cowboy, as a Cowboy. But what I will say is, I think that what a misconnect is, or the disconnect is whether or not it was players that he wanted, or if it was players that the front office wanted that he had to try and get to, make work. And after this, there's some questions that I want you to ask if you get a chance to ask anybody to see, what we're talking about right now, whether or not it was him or the front office, or if it was them working together.
Yeah, okay. Because I know he said, like he looks forward to this round as a head coach, letting the main thing be the main thing. He just wants to be the head coach. He's going to let the coordinators call plays, and he's just going to delegate duties on the football side. But Adam Peters will be making all personnel decisions there. But he made things work in Dallas. He brought over players that upon signing them, it was like, why are we signing Dante Fowler Jr., a guy he's coached in Atlanta and Dallas? It seemed he gets the most out of players there on that defensive side of the ball. What is it about Dan Quinn that helps him resonate with players so deeply?
I think it's because he be in the trenches, dog. Like, he, for the most part in Dallas, he did a lot of the defensive line work. So Dan did a lot of the upfront stuff, a lot of the stunts and stuff like that, and he put his hand down on the ground and showed him how to do those things. Sam Williams, the young guy, he worked with him personally on the hula hoop drills and stuff like that. So I think it's because he was hands on. And in the back end, Joe Witt did a lot of that type of stuff, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But Dan is the type of guy where when Micah started going to boxing classes and taking, Stephon Gilmore, he's right in there with them. So you can see pictures of him, uh, doing boxing training with the guys. He's more so one of the guys, and I think with Micah, he was somewhat of a football father figure to him. So that I think that the guys resonated and were moved by him because he, fit in with them.
And someone, I know you're a boxing aficionado yourself. You're the second person I've heard mention boxing with Dan Quinn about his tenure in Atlanta. apparently he used to hold fight nights. He used to have the team host the team to watch pay-per-view fights, and he would always pull clips from boxing matches and excerpts and make quotes around boxing things. So boxing is clearly something huge for him. And his roots are on the D line. He played on the defensive line when he played football. So would you say your defensive line room, your linebackers room, or your secondary benefited the most from Dan Quinn and his philosophies?
It's a little bit of both because I think that sometimes your front end, like your defensive line, if they get after the quarterback, it can help the back end.
They're married. Hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I would say those guys. I wouldn't say the linebackers, not in Dallas. Seattle, absolutely. Those guys, those linebackers were good.
They got after it.
Yeah, in his tenure in Dallas, we did not find a formula for success when it comes to the linebacker position. But if I had to go with a group and somebody said you have to pick one, I would say defensive line because during his tenure we got a lot. We got after the quarterback a lot as far as pressures go. We got a lot of QB sacks during that time.
So we know how special Micah Parsons is. Generational talent for real. You know, a lot of people get marked with the tab generational talent. Micah Parsons is that for real. But is it is you guys pass rush, was it so effective because of, is it stunts, is it scheme, is it just the guys that you put out there? Like why exactly did y'all have so much success getting home, and how the hell did y'all take the ball away so much? Because as a team here who does not force turnover, seeing y'all lead the league in turnovers back to back to back is phenomenal. It's crazy to me.
So it's actually funny because Micah was not supposed to rush the passer. We actually got in a situation where we lost D-Law for a couple games. We lost somebody else for a couple games. We didn't have any defensive edges, and they just put Micah out there against the Chargers in his rookie year, and he dominated. And
Yep, it was an
that's
experiment.
what happened. Micah was supposed to be a Mike linebacker in training behind LVE, and those guys were supposed to play together. But I think a lot of it had to do with Micah. Micah getting off the ball. He's a 4-3 guy, quick hands. I'm saying bend. We were able to do stunts and stuff like that. But when Micah got off the field, you didn't see as much of an effect from the pass rush when it happened there. So I think a lot of it had to do with Micah, to be honest with you.
Okay. So your linebackers, I know that's going to be something that our fan base is going to, they're going to have PTSD about, but he's had good linebackers in Seattle and Atlanta. Deion Jones was like that when Dan Quinn was in Atlanta. Why
Sure.
did the linebacker position not ascend in Dallas? Was it the players? Was it injuries? It wasn't scheme related, was it?
So that's actually one of the questions I want you to ask when you get a chance, and I'll share with your fans here. I want you to ask why they decided to cut Rashawn Evans midway when we were struggling at the linebacker position, and how does he envision linebackers have like in Washington since that's been an issue for such a long time? Because for me, for the life of me, every real linebacker we had in here, either they didn't have success or they got cut. You know what I'm saying? And we decided to go the safety route, which is beyond me. I can't tell you why we didn't have success at the linebackers. I don't know if it was the front office or not, but the way that Dan can address that question will give you all that you need to know. And
I'm gonna need somebody to ask it because I would love to know, because that's the only unit of your defense that didn't take off under Dan Quinn.
yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? And I'll even tell you this: Micah, as a rookie, was not as effective as a linebacker. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
remember that opening night against Tom Brady and them. He was looking like a fish out of water. You know what I'm saying? Playing linebacker. I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. I do think that they didn't hire the necessary coaches to really be able to take that position over the top. Because Al Harris as the DBs and Joe Witt, they knew what they were doing. But as far as the linebacker coach, I don't know if that was a McCarthy guy. I don't know if the front office put that on him. But I'll tell you what, Dan Quinn ain't asked to get him. he,
Hmm.
never, he asked to get that linebacker coach, did he?
Damn sure didn't. And speaking of that, Y'all blocked us from a couple interviews. Your tight ends coach, Lundo, I believe his name is, and Al Harris. Y'all said y'all got too much dip on your chip. Y'all already got Dan Quinn, and y'all already got Joe Witt Jr. Why Jerry hating on us, man?
Well, tell you what, bro. I tell you what. It's one thing to go for Al Harris. Like normally, defensive coaches go and get their guys and bring their guys over. It's one thing to bring your defensive guys over, but it's another thing to reach over that other side of the ball, and then you say, "All right, man, wait a minute." Like that's a red flag. Like trying to,
Y'all getting goddamn ridiculous now, man. What are y'all doing?
yeah, like all right, man. Like you, to me, it looks like that Green Bay game wasn't no coincidence after him going after Lunda Wells, because you going after Lunda Wells means that you were having that thought for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. That means it was premeditated.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Now the defensive guys, you want some guys that's going to be familiar. Everybody goes up a level or whatnot. Joe Witt goes DC. If Al Harris were to be passing court, like that's different. I think if they had went after Al Harris before Lunda, they might have had a chance of getting Al Harris possibly. But that Lunda was a smack in the face, bro.
That's when they say, all right, they're getting fucking ridiculous now. You are not getting our tight ends coach and Al Harris as well. Too much dip on your chip. Talk to me about Washington's new defensive coordinator for fans that are not too familiar with his game. Joe Witt Jr., a guy that's been in 3 stops with Dan Quinn now, Atlanta, Dallas, and now Washington. He will be taking over Washington's play calling duties as our defensive coordinator. Let me know about his impact, influence on the defensive coordinator, and how he gets through the players.
Yeah, so I think Joe Witt, before Dan Quinn, brought him over, I think he was going to be the favorite to be our DC.
Yes, sir.
And I think what it came down to is it made a lot more. It made a lot of sense for Joe Witt to go over there because there's a lot more security over there. But not only that, you have a guy that you're familiar with in Dan Quinn running the show, so you get a chance to run your own show. You get a couple years under your belt. You know what I'm saying? And then that's how it goes. Joe Witt ran everything on the back end for us. You know what I'm saying? So like I told you, Dan Quinn did a lot of the things up front, and he did a lot of the things on the back end, and he worked hand in hand with Al Harris. It really would have, if y'all would have got Al Harris, it would I'd have been like, man. But DB coaches, they're kind of a dime a dozen, but I know that they worked well together. But like I said, they didn't bring the linebacker coach over, so that should tell you all you need to know about guys that really meshed well together. In Dallas, and Joe Witt and Dan Quinn, they meshed well with some of the things they were able to do as far as rushing the passer and then getting turnovers on the back end.
Okay. So you think he's primed and ready to call the plays and be the prime defensive guy here in DC?
Yeah, he should be. He should be. I'm pretty sure. I think he'll be a lot better than Jack Del Rio.
Oh, of course,
And
it doesn't get worse.
Rivera during the time he had. I think you guys will see an improvement. And remember, we talked about this in text. Forbes was a guy that they really liked. Forbes
Yep, I was just about to get to it. I was just about to get to that.
Yeah, he was a guy we were probably going to draft. And so I think that he's probably jumping for joy right now.
Hell yeah, because my next category I was going to move to was which players are going to benefit most from Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. Y'all had Forbes very high. He was he was at the top of your realistic draft board from where y'all picked last year, correctly?
Yeah, he definitely was. I think that a lot of us thought that Forbes was going to be the pick. Like y'all came in and snagged it. And so I don't know if you remember draft day, you was pissed. I'm like, y'all got a player. You remember that?
Yeah, I was mad. You were like, yo, you got a dog. And I was like, but you said y'all have run a lot of man there in Dallas. Man didn't work for him in his rookie year. He's a zone corner coming out of Mississippi State. He did his thing, being able to jump passes and jump lanes in his own defense. As a man cover corner as a rookie, it was a nightmare for him this year. Like it went as bad as it possibly can go for a first round rookie.
So it's kind of an in phase and out of phase man. Like Trayvon used to play off, and I think that he was in phase. I think that that's when you're like kind of facing the quarterback and you kind of, you know what I'm saying, drive on the football. He would have been able to do some of those type of things. Like Deron Bland. Deron Bland, you wouldn't have Deron Bland, you know what I'm saying, up press corner.
Yeah.
But you would have him able to, and then when you got the pass rush, Coming after the quarterback, they're able to drive on certain things like crossing routes, outs and things like that. I just think the way we would have played him in man would have been a lot different.
Yep, I'm putting Emmanuel Forbes number one on my list of most affected by Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr.'s hire. So if they come over to Washington, what is the ideal way to play Emmanuel Forbes so he can have an ascension and he can take off like a Trevon Diggs or Deron Bland? Y'all have a litany of guys. Y'all have had multiple guys lead the league in interception. Y'all have two players nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, and people are trying to scoff at Quinn's time with the defense there, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think people are trying to scoff at it now for what I just told you. Like the Lunda Wells thing was like that. That was wild. Like, bro, like were you really in it on this Green Bay game because of how bad it looked? It was almost as if he had never called a defense before, and that's what makes people look back on it. Like, there were certain teams that we couldn't stop. You know what I'm saying? It just looked. I think the last game is what left the bad taste in a lot of
Oh
Cowboys
yeah.
fans' mouths. You know what I'm saying? And then this, and then going to Washington. But outside of that, his time in Dallas was a good one. You know what I'm saying? And I think that Forbes will be used a lot like Trayvon Diggs because at the time, I don't know if you remember, at the time we were still battling the contract with
You were.
so that was probably going to be an insurance policy. Deron Bland was a slot corner at the time. You get what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
and we had already made the trade for Gilmore. So this was more so an insurance for Trayvon Diggs. So
Okay.
guys will use him like that.
I would love to see it. I would love to see him ascend like a Trayvon Diggs because we know Trayvon Diggs gets burned, but he makes enough plays to counteract for it. It's a reason why he got paid and then he got hurt and Bland took off. But Emmanuel Forbes definitely number one on my list. Number two on my list, I'm going to say Jamin Davis. Even though you said linebacker was not a position that particularly ascended there, I think Jamin Davis put in his proper place as an off-ball weak or strong side backer while we get a real Mike in here, he will be able to take off. You guys drafted a guy I was really high on last year, DeMarvion Overshown. What position was he supposed to play? And did the plan at linebacker change after he got hurt early in the preseason?
Yeah, so they were working him in. He was playing some will, but I think that eventually he was going to be the guy that they wanted to take over at Mike.
Okay.
So Marquise Bell ended up filling his shoes for what he was supposed to be able to do. So if you see Marquise Bell in our defense, that's where Overshown. That was what he was supposed to do, and Marquise Bell was supposed to be a safety. So he kind of took one for the team. He did a pretty good job for fighting outside of his weight class. I'm interested to see him go back to safety, or maybe do some will stuff with Overshown coming back and us drafting some linebackers. But I'll tell you, it really just depends on your linebacker coach. If y'all get a real linebacker coach in here, cool. Dallas, we got a bum coaching linebacker right now.
So we should not be looking out for Dan Quinn bringing over the linebackers coach. Good to know. Good to know. But yeah, I think Jamin should be able to take off with actual coaching. We did take him in the first round. It would be nice to see him have a nice 130, 140 tackle season with actual guys that know defense and know the position coming in to coach him. And I was going to ask you, what are your safeties? Talk to me about the safeties there in Dallas because we got a guy here in Quan Martin who could play the slot and play the safety position. I think he's number three on my list to take off. Talk to me about how your safeties were used in Dallas.
Our safeties were pretty good for league standard for what I would say. Like Malik Hooker was a solid guy who could play. He was solid that could play center field. He was kind of our quarterback back there. Like I said, we had to play Marquise Bell at linebacker. Wanye Thomas was phenomenal. Um, Donovan Wilson, hitter. I think our safeties were a strong suit of our defense. That's why they tried to play them as much as possible together, but it caught up with us. But I think they did an excellent job with the development of our safeties. And some of the times, I think, Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell, they're dealing with some contract issues as far as guys got paid before them, but they might really be, better than them. So
Okay.
that just goes to show we developed safeties. We brought in some free agents, and I think the system worked well with Witt, worked well with Dan Quinn.
Okay, I got two more for you, and I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to run. Appreciate your time, also, but defensive tackle. We drafted a defensive tackle 2 years ago in the second round and have got no production from him. Through 2 years, he's just a big ass body taking up space and being a uniform. His name's Fedarian Mathis. He comes from the Alabama program. What did y'all get out of your defensive tackles? You said that's Quinn's expertise. That's where his roots come from, stemming from playing as a defensive tackle. Did you guys get anything from your backups or depth defensive tackles?
That's an excellent question, bro. And see, here is what I want to know. This is what I want to know. If what they saw in the front office, if it was what Quinn actually wanted, opposed to what they thought their defensive tackle should be, because it seemed like we were sold on pass rushing when it comes to
Mhm.
DBs. Whereas in Seattle, he had guys like Red Bryant. He had some big old fat defensive tackles that you could move in Seattle, and they weren't so much worried about getting up field. Jonathan Hankins was good for us.
Hankins, oh my God. Our fans used to cry about us trying to sign him for years, man.
Yeah, Hankins was good for us, but we had to trade for him to get him. So that's another thing that I'd be willing to know how Dan feels about that, because he's gonna walk into a room where the defensive tackles are gonna be a hell of a lot better than what we had. You guys you guys got rid of your edges, and I have a guy that I think will probably end up following, going over to Washington, probably because of Dan Quinn.
Dorrance,
No, it'll probably be Dante Fowler, bro.
Dante Fowler Jr. DMV is a professional because he's perfectly segueing my next question. My final one for you was: there's a list of Dallas Cowboys free agents, defensive free agents coming up in 2024. Stephon Gilmore, Dorrance Armstrong, safety Jaron Curse, cornerback Jordan Lewis, Dante Fowler Jr., Jonathan Hankins, and Neville Gallimore. What names stick out to you as fits that you can see Dan Quinn coming to poach in the offseason?
I could see him poaching Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, because really Dorrance want the bag. So if y'all can give him money, y'all got money. You know what I'm saying? So I could definitely see Dorrance coming over there. Dante Fowler, J-Ron Curse. It seems like J-Ron might be out the door. You know what I'm saying? So I could definitely see y'all getting him because he was a green dot for us. You know.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Who's the best of that name of that list I just gave you? Who's the best player?
Dante Fowler, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I think Dante Fowler, again, Dallas and Jerry World, those they love their guys. They don't love their stepchildren. You know what I'm saying? So he was behind a couple guys that he should have been playing in front of, and
Okay.
that's what happened there. You know what I'm saying? Had nothing to do with his performance when he's on the field. He balls out. He gave us better snaps than Sam Williams and some of the other guys that were in front of him. I can't tell you off the top of my head why he didn't play. Every time you saw him play,
He flashed.
edge, yeah, it flashed out there. Yeah. So y'all get Dante Fowler Jr. I'm definitely gonna raise my eyes at that because he definitely played well for us.
We could definitely use some edges. I don't think Josh Allen and Brian Burns actually see the light of day of unrestricted free agency. I think they're both either franchised or re signed by their team. So I'm looking at guys like Bryce Huff, Josh Uche, and a guy like Dante Fowler Jr. to come in and be the edge rushers here in DC. Last one, Stephon Gilmore. Does he have anything left in the tank to come and mentor a guy like Emmanuel Forbes? And would a cornerback room of Emmanuel Forbes, Stephon Gilmore, and Benjamin St. Juste make any sense here in DC?
Um, from what I hear, so I'll say this first, and then I'll answer that question. I'm not sure that Stephon Gilmore, from what I understand, he might not be back. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as playing, um, that might be it for him. But if he does come back, does he have the juice? Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. He was a guy that I was looking to re-sign. I had a nasty injury against you guys, and I think he's gonna have to have surgery. I think it was his labrum, and
Damn.
yeah, so that's gonna sit you down for about 4 to 6 months on its own. You know what I'm saying? So, at being an older guy now, he doesn't. I mean, he'll be okay eventually, but being an older guy, you're looking at 4 to 6 months. Do you want to come back? I don't know, but he definitely has the juice, bro. He's somebody that I want back for my team. So if you guys get him, I'm gonna be salty.
I would love the veteran leadership in the room. I think we're going to lose Kendall Fuller in free agency. I think it would be a good bounce back to add him to the lineup. He played pretty solid for y'all, and his experience. Forbes and them need a mentor over there. Benjamin St. Juste thinks he's elite already, and he's not. And Forbes needs a veteran in his corner coming in who's played at the top level of the league anymore. I like Kendall Fuller, but he's never reached the heights that Stephon Gilmore has as a cornerback. So how does Dallas pivot as defensive coordinator?
I don't know. Like I've heard Rex Ryan is throwing his name in the hat.
Please hire Ron Rivera.
Mike Zimmer, Ron Rivera. Um, there's a couple people. I mean, Ron Rivera as a defensive coordinator is not a bad idea. I just don't think he's the best of that candidate.
He ain't done it in a while because it was his first time calling games to end this season this year, and that shit was awful. And his defensive philosophy that him and Jack shared, they were in lockstep. Ron was right on the train of all the dumb shit Jack was doing over here.
Yeah, but you can't change very much in how late the season was anyway. Plus, y'all already gotten rid of y'all edges, bro. So
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't much that he could do
You're
more.
right.
So I kind of, if you have a whole off season and then you're installing and you have all that, that's different. I don't hold it too much against him, other than the fact that, like you said, he's been around the game, and you would think that maybe he could have had a different impact, but I don't hold it against him. I just was hoping that him going to defensive coordinator, and I'm not going for y'all as a team, but I really like to see good football. So I'm always going to want good football up above my own team. And I was hoping to see some better football from you guys, and it really didn't seem like it was.
Yeah, we didn't necessarily hold up our end of the bargain on that front, but I know you got to run. Thank you for coming on and giving us some knowledge of what Washington is bringing in as a head coach and as a defensive coordinator with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. joining us, man. I appreciate you for coming on. Let people know where to find you on your way out.
Hey, y'all can find me at DMV Fanatic. I know some of y'all are like, how are you from the DMV and you repping the Cowboys? Well, shoot, y'all done been around the DMV. Y'all know it's half Cowboy fans, half Command. So DMV Fanatic, y'all can find me on YouTube. Appreciate y'all.
Actually, absolutely, man. We'll link soon for NFC East panel, my guy.
Absolutely, bro.
Always,
Oh,
man.
hey, before I go, Jay Tuck is out there with Nikki, right?
Yeah, I seen him. I seen him taking pictures and shit out there with my girl, out there with Nikki, man. Hey, good for Tuck, man.
Yeah, absolutely. He's holding it down for us, bro.
Next year, I'm gonna have to pull up the Super Bowl week.
Hey,
Man.
I said the same thing, bro. Hey, let's start saving up now.
Let's go. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. We out there next year, bro.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, Brody. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up in a few. But let me go through these supers, and then we're gonna go through my list of guys who will be benefiting the most from Dan Quinn and Joe Witt's hire. Forbes plays some sort of safety-ish role. Appreciate you for the 199, Reese. I don't see him in a safety role. He's gonna have to work at corner. His bony ass is gonna have to increase his play strength and take to the tutelage of defensive savvy guys. We have better detailed coaches here now. It's going to have to be corner for him. He's not a safety. He is 100% a cornerback. Appreciate you forever, Toxic, Marcus Hardison. DQ is a certified snake. The way he sabotaged that playoff game against Green Bay and then tried his best to gut our coaching staff, he showed his true colors. Wishing nothing but failure. Salute. Appreciate you for the $9.99. Is that being a snake for looking out for yourself? Because ultimately in this world, all you have is yourself. So if he wasn't planning a future in Dallas, Dallas's future is uncertain at this point. Y'all may be moving on from Mike McCarthy a year from now. Everybody's going to move up in the world when they have the opportunity to. Everybody except Ben Johnson. But is he a snake for that? Was it his fault Dak was throwing pick sixes and scored 0 points while y'all was down 27-0 early in that game? I think the blame pie is large enough to be divvied and distributed evenly in Dallas for that playoff game. It was one big pie of trash, and no one side of the ball, no one position group deserved to win that game. Dan Quinn didn't do his job, but neither the hell did your $50 million quarterback and your head coach in that offensive side of the ball. Imagine we offer Forbes to the Bears for the. They don't want him. Nobody's trading for Forbes after the rookie year he just had. We're gonna have to salvage and fix and come to a solution for him here. Nobody's trading compensation for him. And I'll say this, while it's kicking and it's a popular topic, I don't think we're getting Caleb Williams. The Bears are going to draft him. They're not stupid. They're not going to do it twice. Think he wanted to sabotage his chance of getting another job? What type of logic is that? Yeah, I don't know about that. And also, we got to stop treating one game like it is greater than the entire body of work as a defensive coordinator. Yep, you the worst. DMV got plenty of Cowboys. I've seen high school players bigger than Forbes. Easily is the skinniest person I've ever seen on an NFL football team. Forbes built like my son. My son turned 13 in April. Forbes built just like him. He just like him for real. But boundary corner, yeah, that's where he's gonna have to succeed. So my list of guys that benefit most from Dan Quinn's hire: Emmanuel Forbes, Jamin Davis, Quan Martin, trash can Fedarian Mathis, and number 5, I would say the Alabama wall. We already know how good Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen can be, but can they really reach the heights of what we really imagine them to be under Dan Quinn? Dan Quinn is a front 7 guy. Y'all seen that picture of Dan Quinn with the mesh jersey looking crazy, looking like Bill Goldberg in uniform, rocking burgundy and gold back when he used to play, rocking number 99. He was a big-ass D-line. He's a D-lineman. So I expect the D-line to be hitting on all cylinders. They just got to hit on an edge guy. Like I said, I don't think the top two edge guys of the class, Josh Allen and Brian Burns and Daniil Hunter, I don't think either of those guys are actually testing free agency. I think they're all franchise set. Yo, if we draft Jaden Daniels, I need us to hire a nutrition program just for them two, like outside the strength and conditioning and nutritioners that we already have. I need a nutrition program hired just to make Jaden Daniels and Emmanuel Forbes NFL-sized players, because Emmanuel Forbes is built like an Instagram hoe. No, Jaden Daniels, my bad. Emmanuel Forbes not even built like that. Emmanuel Forbes is built like a junkie. Jaden Daniels is built like an Instagram model. Boy got no waist. He got no torso. Built like a goddamn broomstick, but he oozes of talent. And I just want to see and know that he can win and kill you with his arms equivalently as he can with his legs, because his running ability is game breaking. But he has great touch, has some of the best fade balls and seam balls I've seen. I know that sounds crazy on a Monday afternoon, but yes, I think we're in good shape. However we go, just please get me a quarterback and let's roll. But the one side of the ball I have no concerns with is Dan Quinn and the defensive side of the ball with Joe Witt Jr. Dallas blocked us from getting Lunda Wells, their tight ends coach, and they blocked us from shooting our shot at Al Harris. We tried to get him. We tried to make Al true to his word of saying he would follow Quinn anywhere he goes, and Washington made a move on the offensive side of the ball. I have a video that I'm releasing as soon as I get off this stream where I'm talking about the move Washington just made on the offensive side of the ball. So if you haven't heard me mention that yet, I'm cognizant that it happened. I'm sharp. A video will be on the way as soon as I finish this stream up right here. But I appreciate y'all. 279 in the chat. Smash that like button. If you're not subbed up to the channel, subscribe to Rio Robinson. I am going to be one of the most active channels during this huge monumental size Washington Commanders off season. We've been pushing out a couple videos a day. And if you're not hip, we will be live on Louis T's channel tonight, 8:30 p.m. The 4K. Me, Ed Oliver, Rico from Street Scores, and Lou will be chopping it up and talking about the rebirth of Washington Commanders football here in D.C. That is about to be my time for right now. I just wanted to talk about I wanted to hear from a Dallas fan's perspective what we're getting in Dan Quinn and company. Joe Witt Jr. was apparently in line to succeed Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator in Dallas until Washington came through, poached him. They blocked us from taking any of their other coaches, but we're coming for players next when free agency start. We talked about What players will benefit the most from Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., and what Dallas players would Quinn be interested in bringing over? And DMV Fanatics said Dante Fowler Jr., Gall Moore, and Jaron Curse are the three players he's looking at. And he would not, he would totally understand if we brought in Gilmore as well. That is my time for right now. I will have the Brian Johnson video out in just a few. Thank you for pulling up on a random Thursday afternoon. I'm going to be doing a lot more impromptu random streams on afternoons going forward. Thank you for rocking with the boy. Until next time, hail to the Burgundy and Gold, hail to the Washington Commanders. Rio out.